Hello, everybody. Welcome to DIY tool training. My name is David Jones. I'll be doing our training today. We're going to get started here in a few minutes as we have a few attendees. We're still waiting to log on, so go ahead and hang tight. 5 o'clock rolls around. We'll go live and roll through this DIY tool training session. Welcome, everybody. 5 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Hope you guys and gals are having a great week. Again, my name is David Jones, and this is a good session today. We're going to be going over the DIY tool. It's one of the many and one of my favorite features of the Electude product and software is the DIY tool. There's a lot of things, a lot of special things that we can build. Really, the sky is the limit. This system gives us the capability to design any sort of learning materials or activities or assets. We can even modify things that pre-exist. It's great. It gives us a lot of flexibility. And we're going to go ahead without further ado and get started down that path. So all of the operations that we are going to take on today are going to be under the Teachers tab. So I'm going to go ahead. I've shared my screen so you guys can follow along with me. We're going to go ahead and log in, and then we're going to create a master course, and then we're going to assign students. That's our first operation here. So let's go ahead and log in. Now, I will say, if you hear some strange noises in the background, please forgive me. I have 4 dogs in very close proximity, and it's about mail time, and they hate the mailman. So if we hear something weird or if my microphone goes silent for a minute, probably gone mute to yell at them, but bear with me, and I think we'll be all right. So I want to create a master course and assign students. This is really simple. So what we want to do is to create our own course, a master course, we want to navigate to the Courses tab. Now, as you may or may not know, within Electude, anytime we're in the site, we have 4 tabs at the top toolbar. We have the Settings tab, the Students tab, which is where all the groups are housed. We have the Courses tab, and that is where our main courses all the assembly of modules and things that we do. That's where those things live. And then the modules tab are the individual lessons. So to make a master course, we need to navigate to the courses tab atop the page. So I have gone ahead and clicked on that tab, and you'll notice at left we have several options present that we can choose from. Anytime that we're dealing with courses or elements or anything that we make, it goes under the self-made tab. Okay, so if we make a course copy, make a new course, bring things in, anything that we've modified lives in the self-made tab. So for the purpose of creating a new master course, we're going to click self-made. And again, I've clicked courses at the top of the page, and then I've navigated to self-made on the left. And now atop the page, it indicates that we are in the self-made tab. These are all custom courses that I have built, just mainly on these for the course of trainings that we've done. To make a new course, it's really simple, okay? Now that we're in the self-made area of the site, what I want to do is, you'll notice we have courses right here, and then we have right below that the plus sign. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the plus sign. That opens up this menu. It says add course, and you'll notice highlighted in blue, if we click this, it will either say new course or import SCORM. For the purpose of pretty much all of the course builds that we will undertake through our usage of Electude, it's going to always be the new course tab. SCORM is an old format that allows us to bring in pretty rudimentary functionalities from other publishers' websites. So essentially it allows a program, it's like an emulator, it allows another program to run within the Electude environment. We're not going to be doing that today because it's kind of an outmoded technology, but that is what that option means. So we've clicked courses, we hit the plus, and now we're here to add course. So now we give it a title. We always have to give it a title, or it will not let us create any elements. So we're going to call this Tuesday Master Course. So the title is the only required field. I'm going to hit add. Now, when we're operating in the self-made areas of the software, the first time that I create a course or a module, that new element will always file to the bottom of the self-made list, okay? Once I enter the course, or if I would refresh the page, then that element that we've just created files in alphabetical order. So it only appears at the bottom of the list one time. Once we access it, or if the page gets refreshed, it files alphabetically. So it didn't go away, but you will see it move, okay? So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to click this Tuesday Master Course. Now, we don't have any content assigned, we don't have any modules, but we'll get there. Now, what I'm going to do, I've just created a master course. So what we want to do is assign this course to a group of students. Now, I am just going to use an existing group that I have. We'll do this demo course 1 here. And within Electude, just a brief recap, students, the groups they function as our sections or our classes. Courses, again, are the buckets that hold all the modules. Modules are the individual lessons. So now I have navigated to the Students tab, and I have selected Demo Course 1. This is just a course for testing that I've built, and I use it for these purposes. But you'll see right here, I have one course currently assigned to these students. Now, if you look up at the top of the page, we'll see a few bits of information, okay? We'll see under the Students tab, the system indicates that we are, in fact, in Demo Course 1. And if we look right next to it to the left, we notice under the Courses button that that Tuesday Master Course is still selected. I'm going to click the Courses tab. You'll notice under Students, we still have that Demo Course 1 group selected, so that's fine. Now within Electude, everything, how we move modules around is that we click on them and we drag them. How we move courses is just the same. We click and we drag them. So up here, this is the master course that we have just created. So I'm going to click this course and I'm going to drag it over to the group of students. And that's all there is to it. All I've done is I've clicked it and I've drug it over to the button that says Students Demo Course 1. Now it won't let me drag it over twice because the system does not let us duplicate. Now just to verify, we're going to click the Students tab here. And we're in, again, Demo Course 1, and you will see our Tuesday Master Course. So we've made our master course and we have assigned it to students. It's just that simple. So we click and drag it over to assign it. And we can drag a course that we make to any number of groups of students. There is no limit. We can use it over and over and over again, which makes the custom courses really, really slick once we get everything set up. It's one thing I really love about that element. So next, we want to go into the DIY modules tab or lessons. So in Electude, modules are the lessons. Okay, they're the individual bits of instructions. Under modules live any lab task sheets, live any lab activities, any how-to resources, any of the student interactive elements live in the modules tab. That's where we store them. So we'll click the modules tab to enter the DIY tool. And what we want to do is click all new. All right, so we have all new here. And then we have a self-made button. So what we've done here, this is how we find the modules that we're going to build, okay? I'm going to click modules at the top, hit the all new button, and that opens up this field, and we're going to click self-made. And under the self-made, any module or any element that we have ever made will appear under that list. So the self-made, we have one for courses, and we have a self-made folder under modules. Now the DIY tool can be accessed through any of the ASC content areas or any of the module folders within the system. Now, what I mean by that, you'll notice right here I've selected ASC content areas. This is just like the automotive essentials that you have. So under the ASC content areas, we're presented with two options. We have folders, and then at the bottom of the page, we have modules. Now, under the modules tab, this is where we enter the DIY tool. So we go under the modules tab. So we select modules here, ASC content areas. Look for the modules in bold, and underneath it we see a plus. So if we click that plus sign, we're presented with this menu that says new module. So within this guide, we have new module, and we have a couple fields here. The first of which is type, title, description, and level. The only two that we're really concerned about today is type and title. So if I select this type button, we are presented with all of the options that we can use the DIY tool to carry out. Today, we're going to cover all of these. I'm actually going to start with a link here. So this is the simplest module to create in the DIY tool. It's creating a link. Now this is really neat because it can take us to any website that we wish. And this functions as its own lesson, okay? So we're going to grab a link to a site that I wish to navigate to. I am going to use breakschool.com. It is a heavy diesel thing, not necessarily automotive, but it's an excellent training resource. And it's something that I have used many times for students. So I went to the website and I have copied the URL. So I'm going to paste that under the menu for link. We're going to give it a title. We'll just put Bendix Brake Training. Now we have the option here to select if the link will open up in a new window or not. I always like that because then it opens up a new tab. Works really nice for the student navigation. So we're going to select in a new window and we're going to hit add. And you'll notice our Bendix Brake Training. It appears right down here under our modules tab. Okay, so what we're going to do, we want this first lesson or module that we've created to be in our master course. So I'm going to click this and I'm going to drag it up. So now we want to build another type of lesson. So we navigate, we look for the modules heading. Then once again, we select the plus. And we want to build a file. Now this allows us to embed any type of file that we may have, any PDFs or anything that we've in the past given students as a paper handout, we can upload as a file, and then students interact with it just like any other module within Electude. And then they open it up, and then the Electude viewer will open up most file types, and they can see and access the file or download it to their own computer if it's something that they need to open in Word or Excel. And this is a way that we upload and attach those elements. So we've selected new module and file. We're just going to put master file here. And what we would do, we do not need to put in a description if we don't want, but we will select the upload file button here. And I'm just going to pull a lesson plan that I have been working on. So we'll pull this in, it's a Word document. And then one final option here, which you'll see this in a lot of these modules, we have the option here for teachers only. This is very handy. And I'll refer to this a few different times because for teachers only allows us to put elements into a course where students have been assigned, but only the teacher users will be able to see it. Okay. So right here, we're going to click this for teachers only box just because this is something we're going to use for our purposes. I'm going to hit add. I'm going to drag this master file up into my course, and we're just going to drop it there. So everything is drag and drop. Now we're going to go in again. So we're going to look under the modules heading. And I'm going to hit the plus sign. And we're going to make a task. We're going to give it a title. Let's call it the master task. And then we will hit add. Now a task lesson, and test are 3 modules, 3 elements within the DIY that we have to populate. So once we create the module and give it a title, we are always taken to this screen, okay? This allows us to do a few different things. First of all, it presents us with some tools up here. If I have created the module by mistake and I want to delete it, I hit the X right here. Word to the wise, there's no undo tool. So if you delete a module that you've made and you don't have a copy of it, it's gone. So I've done this before. I was working at the wee hours of the night, hit the wrong button, hit X, and I had to redo my work. So use the X very, very cautiously, because once you delete it, it's gone. Now, next to the X, we have the pencil here. This allows us to edit. We can change the title, and if we want it for teachers only or not. That's what that pencil does for us. And then this allows us to add it to our favorites. Favorites, if I create a module and put it under my favorites, then I can use this module later. So we're just going to add this to our favorites. Now we'll touch base on that favorites functionality here in a little bit. So now I want to edit the module, and we're presented with a blank screen. Now the beautiful thing about the DIY tool, whether I'm making a task, a test, or a lesson, the edit features are all the same, okay? So that's what is really, really slick. Now, the differences between a lesson, a test, and a task are very important. A task, if I build a task, that is just as it sounds. It's something that I want my students to do, actions that I want to carry out, okay? So when I make a task, this is something, once the student enters this lesson, they go through to completion and they hit submit, it create in the grade center for the course, which is where all the bar graphs and all the elements occur. It will create a little pop-up box, and it will create a gradable event for the teacher of that group. So that's pretty slick. To demonstrate the grading tool of a task, it has to be assigned to an active class. Students have to log in, submit work, and take it. But we can show you how to build these out. James, to your question, I've seen it come through here. I will go over course copies here in a second. So I want to go over the DIY functions first, and then we'll swing around to the copying the courses. So within the DIY tool, and this is, you are now within the DIY tool. This is where all the magic takes place. So with this guy, we have a couple different options. If you think it looks like a traditional Electude module just naked, it does. It is. It's stripped down to its bare bones. There's nothing here, which is really slick. We have a top here. We have our main pages. We have our sub pages, which these are where our questions lie. And then we have our formatting and editing tools on the left and right flanks of the page. If I wish to add main pages, sections to this task or lesson, there is at the top, one button from the top. You'll see a plus sign, and if you hover over it, it says add page. If I click this a few times, we can add main pages. Now say I've made too many, or I've messed up here on number 3 and I want to make this page go away. So I'm going to click number 3, and then 3 buttons from the top, you'll notice this kind of strange looking square, and if you hover over it, it says select page. So I'm gonna hit this guy. And what it does, once I select page, you'll see it highlighted around. So it puts a dotted box around page 3, and then I click the X, and that deletes page 3. I wish to delete page 1, I select page 1 here, select the box tool, and then delete it, and it goes away. Now again, no undo tools. So be very cautious when we make this. I promise, when I was first starting into Electude, I spent a lot of time making all these the way I want. And the first thing that I didn't do is save often enough. I came back, I lost like 6 hours worth of work. And what you got to do is A, be really careful deleting things. B, every change that we make within the DIY tool, if you'll notice the top left of the screen, you'll see this floppy disk, which says save. Just once we click it, all it does is refresh, creates a checkpoint in the system, and everything that we've done kind of backs it up, okay? So that's the save button. The top plus adds pages. This button selects the page so we can delete it. Now, the sub pages are where the questions or the summative assessment portions live. So down here at the bottom, if I wish to add sub pages or questions, we hit the lowermost plus sign on the right. You see I've added 7 questions. Now say I've added 7, I go back through and I don't like number 4, so I'm going to click question 4. And then right below the plus sign, again, we have the select question box. So we'll click this, and then I navigate up to the X and question 4 goes away. That's how we delete. I'm gonna hit save again. So that is how we make and delete pages and subpages. Now within these, the subpages are questions. We can change and modify what types of questions appear here in this box. And that is done by clicking the wrench at the lower right of the page. And if we hover over it, it says question properties. So we will go ahead and click this wrench. And then we're presented with the question properties menu. So it allows us to select the question type. We can choose a multiple choice, multiple response, open, or no question at all. We're going to select a multiple choice. And you'll see here the number of answers it defaults to is 3, but as being traditional, and I like even test question numbers, sure we're all about the same way. I'm going to select number 4. We hit OK, and now what that's done is instead of 3, we have 4 questions here. Okay. Now you'll notice none of these answers are selected because we're making a task. Okay, and a task, we want students to enter feedback. Tasks have to be graded by the teachers. So none of these answers would be correct. All right, these are just, it gives 4 possibilities of answers. We would type our question body up here, and then our answers down the way. And then the teacher, once the student submits this lab, then the teacher will go back through, grade it. As soon as they hit submit, the student gets their results. So that is how we modify and change the question field. Now what's really, really slick here, if you look on the left, right under the save button, I'm going to hit save again just to cover ourselves. So right under the save button, we have 3 buttons and then an X. This first one is really cool. We can upload our own images. So I just have a stock image here. We'll pull this guy. So we can upload our own images. And then for this particular question, I have 1 question based upon this image. You can upload any pictures you want. So this is where the customization really starts to come into its own. Now, on a task, another thing that we could do here, we can create tables. So I love this. We can create fields. You can click and drag, make the table and manipulate it in any way that we want. But tables are really nice if we have students look up specifications or testing components. You can put the component name. You can devise a data recording table as any fashion that you want. And essentially, we just click and drag, kind of mess around with the tool functionalities. And then we hit save. And then all the tables that we create will be populated here in this list to the left. So we can make tables. That's pretty neat. And then the students can fill in their information. Now this last one here is the paint or the drawing tool. Now what we do here, we have with the drawing tool, we upload a picture. So I've selected the background and then my initial drawing. We'll go in here, we kind of mess around with this guy. And this is if I want students to circle the mirror, okay, or circle the tire. And we would go in and we would tell the system where we want the drawing to be laid. And then we will hit save. And then what would happen here, we'll hit OK. The students then, depending on which operation we've chosen, whether it's click or move or draw, if we say circle the brake or circle the wheel, the students will be able to interact with this and put in their own information. Okay. So that is the task. So we're going to hit the save button, and that finishes us up with creating a task. So now you'll notice here, after we hit save and we exit the DIY tool on any of these elements, we are presented with two more options. We have edit last saved copy or publish copy. Now, if I click edit module, the first one, this is how the module looked. Edit module is how the module existed before I hit save. Edit last saved copy is everything that we've done after the last save point. So if in between saves I messed up, maybe I deleted too much, there is a chance that this edit, if I go back one. So this is the edit last saved copy. This is our post save. Edit module is the pre-save. So if we mess something up and we saved after, as long as there is a chance that we could go back to this edit module and be right where we are. And then if we want to keep this older version, only thing we have to do is hit the save button within the DIY tool, and that then becomes the new version. The last and important button here is publish copy. So I want to publish this guy. Now this becomes a real task. So we've created a task lesson. I'm going to click it. We're going to drag it over to the courses. All right, see a hand raised here. We're going to hold all questions to the end, Mike. So if you would just take note of that, and here in a couple minutes, once we go through the last few elements, I'm going to open up a Q&A and we'll go back through any of these operations, okay? All right, so that's creating a task. A few more things in the DIY tool, a few more tricks up the sleeve here. So I'm going to go back to the ASC content areas again. So we've clicked in the modules, clicked ASC content areas, gone under the modules heading, and I've hit the plus. So we have a test here. We're going to create a test. I've selected that from the module menu. We're just going to put master test. Now a test is self-grading, just like any other test that test tools that you may be familiar with. On the creation of the module, we select the default passing score. We can set a time limit. We could choose it to be for teachers only, but that really doesn't apply for a test. And then we'll hit add. So it brings us to this familiar screen where we have the start and the edit module. Again, to edit the title or any of these parameters. If I want to change the passing score or any of those, I would select the pencil and I can modify the passing score and the time from this place. So we'll hit OK. We are in the test tool. We want to edit the module. Adding pages and subpages and modifying questions is exactly the same as I just showed you with the task. So no need to rehash that. Now, one thing you will notice though on the subpage is now that the uppermost answer is highlighted. All right. So if we say we have page 1, question 1, first thing we want to do is turn this into an asset with 4 questions. So I'll hit the wrench. That allows us to modify the question properties. I'm going to click 4 and we'll hit OK. Now, when we're in the DIY tool doing tests or lessons, the uppermost answer is always where we type in the correct answer. Once the students get these modules assigned to them, the answers are scrambled, okay? So there's no way that the top answer is always going to be correct. It scrambles them amongst the 4, but when we're in the DIY, the uppermost is the correct answer. So just keep that in mind as we navigate through these elements, okay? So that is the only difference on the answer sheet between the test and the task. Now, on the graphic side, the test and lessons, which I'll show you next, are exactly the same way. We're presented with the save button, obviously, which we'll save. Select the animation tool, the image tool, or the upload video tool. These are by far my absolute favorite things to use. It allows us to make really robust testing of elements, very, very strong components. Let's just dive in. So question 1 here, I want to select an animation. So we're going to click this building block. It's Lego. Now this, I am not kidding when I say there are tens of thousands of animations and images and interactive things that exist within here. Anything that is in the Electude Automotive Essentials or in the Electude Animation Library, we can use for our own DIY elements. So essentially, those beautiful modules that we all love as the animations that students can touch and feel and manipulate, we can bring those same elements into our tests and our own lessons, which is really sweet. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to pull something from differential. To navigate through all of the images or animations within that differential lesson, all I have to do is select the bar at the top right. So anything that is in this lesson, we have it. We can scroll through and find one just as we like. So for this first question, I'll pick this guy. We'll hit OK. So now we've brought in an animation. So we can type in a question here under 1, and we can use this as a reference. So referring to the image, what job do the planet or spider gears do, or any other question that we would come up with based upon this information. And we have this to draw from. So that is an animation. Now, if I want to use one animation for several test questions, essentially all I would do is hit the plus sign a few times. So this lower plus. So now you'll see this one animation. Currently, I can select 4 different questions, and that animation still persists. Now, say for question number 4, I want something different. I want an image. So I'll click question 4, and I will select the picture button, which is 3 from the top on the left. And again, I'll use that same stock image. And now we upload that. Going to hit save again. So the first 3 have this one animation that we've chosen to use, and then number 4 has an image. That's all cool and well, we think, but we want to do something different. So we have images, we have animations. I really want to bring in a YouTube video. Well, the really awesome thing about this is there's an embedded YouTube video player. And it occurs by this little video icon right here on the left or from the top. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to navigate to YouTube. I'm going to pull up something from Bendix. There are a lot of good resources on YouTube. A lot of schools that I've seen instructors make their own demo videos. Okay, so it's really sweet. They upload them to their private YouTube channels for their classes. Anything you can imagine shows up here on YouTube. But we're going to pull up something from Bendix just because it's really good stuff. Let's see. I'll just pull this guy. So you notice here when we're in YouTube, I hate sending students just to YouTube because there's all these links, and students are a lot like us. They kind of have squirrel brain sometimes. They see shiny objects, they're going to click on it, and they're not going to do or watch the lessons that we want to. So what this video tool allows us to do is use the video in a controlled environment. So what I just did, I'm in YouTube, and I just clicked share. I want this URL, so I've copied it to my clipboard, and now I'm done with YouTube. I can close the page. We're going to go back into our test and say I want this video to appear on question 6. So I've selected question 6, and I want to select the video tool at the left. I'm going to paste in that YouTube link and hit OK. And it takes a minute to load, but there it is. It strips away all the animations, and it allows this YouTube video to play within the test. And this is where it gets super cool. Say number 6, this is a 3-minute video. Say I would like to have students answer 3 or 4 questions based on this one video. So all I have to do, I'm on number 6. If I hit plus question twice, now I can have 3 individual questions related to this one video. So it's really slick. Does an awesome job. And again, it's a super way to ensure A, that students stay focused. B, it ensures that they're watching some of these value-added videos that we want to share for them. They're getting all the information that we want them to have, okay? So I'm going to hit save, and then we're going to exit. We're done with this test. Here are our options again, our edit last saved, and we're just going to publish. And now you'll see up top, it says modules master test because we've just created this. And I'm going to drag this into our course. Now I want to make a lesson. Going to click modules again, ASC content areas, look up for that modules heading, and then we will hit the plus. I will select lesson here. So select this guy. See, I tried to add it without adding a title. So we have to give it a title. We'll put master lesson. And then we'll hit add. Takes us to our edit screen that we're familiar with by now. So we'll hit edit module. And again, we enter the DIY tool. This functions and works exactly like the test, exactly like the task. You'll notice here the top question. If I have a multiple choice, the top answer is going to be the correct one. So there's nothing new, nothing to throw a wrench at us. Here on the side, the top again, we have our animation, our picture, and our video tool. That works just like the test. Now the difference between modules and tests are timed, they're self-grading, they're made to be a summative assessment. All right, they're made to be more of a rigorous assessment. The modules are just like the individual modules or lessons that the students will encounter in their theory portions of Electude. So we can build modules for absolutely anything we want using these tools and resources. Here on the left, Electude animations, own images, our own videos. One unique feature of the lesson, which I really like, is we click the wrench. We have our question properties box. Again, this is just like we've seen. We can choose the number of answers. But in a lesson, we can click this box right here that says requires correct answer. And what this does is it allows us to put a stop, little checks into the lesson, so students can't just fly through this and click a bunch of buttons and, don't care what grade they get. They have to actually read and find the correct answer before it'll allow them to proceed. And the system will tell us on the grading side, as with all other lessons, how many times they've tried to click through. We'll be able to tell if they're just randomly clicking pages, and their scores will reflect their responses. So this is a really nice way to keep students, to say in line, to keep them on task as they go through the lesson. So that's a nice feature that I like to turn on. Again, I don't view these lessons as testing assignments. All right, these are not assessments, but I do want students to actually learn and grasp what we're trying to portray. And that's why I personally use that requires correct answer button. So we'll hit save here, and then we'll go back and we'll publish. So I want to drag this lesson into my courses. Drag that into my master course. The last thing we want to make in the DIY tool is a simulator fault. Now the Elective Simulator is awesome. It's really come into its own, especially since students can't get in the lab with all the strange things going on in the world. But we can make our own faults. We can choose our own lessons. We can give our own tools. It's really, really neat. So it works just like adding and making any of the other lessons that I've showed you all. We go to ASC content areas. Under modules, we hit the plus. Select the type box. And this time we're going to choose simulation. We'll just put master simulation. And then we have the Electude Simulator, the engine management. We're going to hit add. Then here we have our settings. So faults, we can choose a list of faults. What fault do we want to inject? What fault do we want our students to find? We're going to pick this one. Injector 4 is faulty, it's clogged. Click this guy. We can type a description here. Customer states problem misfire at idle, or customer states vehicle stalls at stoplight. Any of those kind of backstory goes here. So we will do concern description. We can select here what tools we want the students to have access to. So we can allow them to have the whole box, or we cannot allow them to replace parts or replace wires. We can take away the fuel pressure gauge. We can take away the breakout box, the diagnostic system, and the scan tool, multimeter, oscilloscope. Don't need a jump pack. We do want the invoice. The invoice tracks students. Anytime they make a move in a simulator, it keeps track of their diagnostic hours, their parts bill. The invoice is really nice. We want to keep that. We're not going to need to replace wires. We will need to replace parts. We're going to need a fuel pressure gauge. And since we're testing injectors, we want a multimeter and diagnostic system. So these are our things. Automatic evaluation means it will self-grade. I personally prefer to turn off the automatic evaluation when I make my simulator faults. And what it'll do, it'll give us a little notification on our grade center for the course, or the group of students rather. Once they've completed the simulation, then we go in and we review the progress and assign our grade. I personally like that with these because student performance within the simulator is incredibly subjective. And this allows us, just me as a teacher, to really get a feel of how my students are doing, how they're laterally thinking and kind of applying problem solving skills. So that's why I choose automatic evaluation. You can choose it however you wish. So we'll hit OK. And that's it. We've made the simulation. So we just have to click this and drag it over to my course. Now, if you look here on the left, you'll see our modules, and you'll see this tab that says favorites. You'll remember I added a lesson to favorites. And here it is, this master task. All right, that master task now lives on our favorite list. So any of the modules that we create or ones that we really like that we hit the favorites, it goes under this folder, and it allows us just to keep them in an easy to find place. So think of it as a quick reference, okay? That is our favorites tab. Now we're going to navigate into our master course that we created earlier. And here are all of our lessons. So let's go through them real quick. Here is our link. So this is what it would look like. It's Bendix break training. So to access the link, the students click the button and they're taken to the URL that we've chosen. We're going to go back. File, if we hit start, in this case, it downloads the file that we've chosen. The task, test, and lesson are very much the same. So will the simulator. We open it up, and it will be the student experience. We'll click test. And this is everything that we've brought into our animation. There's the picture, and here's the video. So this is just what it looks like with the DIY tool. Now, I talked about copying modules and courses. Now with this guy here, when we copy, anytime we're in a course or a self-made module, you'll see these overlapping pages here. It allows us to copy course. So we hit this guy, are we sure we want to copy? And what I use this for is, if I have a course that's say from Automotive Essentials or a group of pre-made courses that I wish to modify, and I'll show you, we'll do that real quick. Just click this, we can copy it, and then that moves the course into our self-made tab and we can modify it. Another thing that the course copy does here is there'll be a copy of our Tuesday master course, and then there'll be our Tuesday master course. The copy serves as a backup for us, okay? So that is excellent. So I had a question come through. Why doesn't the simulator have a service manual? Let's go in there real quick. So we're going to enter into the service manual. And this takes us to the end of our of my spiel. So thank you for being patient with me. I know we covered a lot of information, but the DIY tool has a lot of intricacies. I know the presentation says we usually go through that portion in 30 minutes, but when we cover all the elements within the DIY tool, it's almost impossible to do that. So appreciate your patience. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start. I'm going to field these questions. With James, I covered course copy. Let me know if that didn't quite come through, or if you'd like to cover it again. Brad, on your comment on the service information, let's go ahead and enter the simulator. So I'm going to click modules and select ASC content areas, and we're going to go into the Electude simulator. It's going to pull something out of basics. So we have engine overheated, this guy. Now the simulator, as you stated, it does not have per se service information into it. It has wiring diagrams, it has specs. Why it doesn't have service information in it, that is an excellent question. However, what we can do as for service information related tasks, something I like to do, it actually doesn't involve the simulator at all, but if we build our own simulations, we can make this work. If we do, let me go to courses. And then there's Modo Logic, which is the service information that is built within Electude. If we click that Modo Logic button, that allows us to use this partner product, and we could pull up the diagnostic data right from within Electude. And this works really nice for some of the hands-on lab tasks. It keeps students within the Electude learning environment. They can put in their year, make, and model. I really like to use that as kind of a fill-in. Works awesome for them doing their lab tasks. It's really easy to use. So as far as the simulator, having that right now, the simulator does not have service information in it. It mainly focuses upon the thought process of diagnostic. So we can pull a code. Now, when we pull a code with the scanner, and what this does, we'll go ahead and start as I want to demonstrate this. When we're in the simulator and we pull a code with the scanner,
in the demo I will show you.
We're going to select this little 3-line button here. It pops our menu out. I want to select diagnostic tester. We'll do identify vehicle, pulls it up. I'm going to look at control units. Now right here, this shows us a little bit more of information. So we select our control unit, whether we want the transmission control or engine. We'll click transmission control. We go to information, we get our diagrams, we get our block or our wire, throttle position. It gives us component location. All right, so I've clicked our block diagram. It tells us where the ECU is located. Okay, gives us wiring diagrams for the system. So it does have service information in the sense that it gives us live data. It allows us to program. It gives us specifications that we should see, and that occurs through this diagnostic tester. All right, so it does have a form of service information, and it's more than adequate for what our students are doing or what they need. But you access that through the diagnostic tester. It works out really nice. It's just learning to kind of navigate, and the best way to do that is getting in here and kind of messing with it, Brad. James, I see you got the copy. There will be a link to watch this again. This session is recorded, so it takes a little bit to process these files, but once they're processed, somebody from Electude will be sending this to all the participants, so you guys will be able to replay this webinar, and any questions you have, we can go back over that. So what other questions do we have? I know we covered a whole lot of information. I hope you guys aren't all glassed over. I know how it is with so many things and so much possibilities within the system. But one thing to keep in mind, it's easy to kind of get intimidated, but this is a really easy software to use. It's essentially, once we figure out a few of the basic ins and outs, it's really user-friendly, works absolutely awesome from both the teacher and the student side. Does an excellent job. So we have any other questions at all? I have unmuted the microphone, so if there's anybody that would like to go live, we can do open up a little bit of dialogue here. You feel free to use the questions tab. James, I see your question. If you asked if you make a course, can you share it to another teacher? Anybody within your organization has access to your particular site, and then they have access to all of your self-made files. So you can assign this to any group that we like, and those groups can be assigned to any teacher within your organization. Okay, so the answer is yes. That's a long way to say, yeah, you absolutely can share this to another teacher. The only caveat is they have to be within your organization, okay?
Question.
Yes.
If you say organization, if these 3 schools in your system, can they all use the same questions?
If the 3 schools use the same parent Electude site, then yes. If you have 3 separate Electude sites, it may be possible on a patch for the back end, but my initial My initial feeling is no in those cases. If that
Okay,
makes
thank
sense. So, and again, if there are specific questions with your subscriptions, reach out to your representatives. They have all the subscription information. I do most all of my work on the training and on the development side. So I've spent a lot of time with this in the trenches. I've spent a lot of times when I was first learning to use it in frustration, about tossed my computer a few times. But you know, at the end of the day, this actually works really well. And what I found that really eases my frustration with using this software, I was overthinking all the operations. It's actually really simple how to work in this. I just have to keep telling myself, think of the KISS standard, keep it stupid simple. Use the little stuff. It's really simple to navigate. It works awesome. Do we have any other questions for me today? Any at all, anything we've covered on the DIY, we have anything that's fringe, you know, kind of around the Electude site, we can do that. Also, we have a little bit of time. James, it's my pleasure. I seen your text come up. My pleasure to do this. My name is David Jones. I do not do all of these training. I actually am in charge of our translations, product developments. I help write some of the labs that you guys use or will use and have seen. But from time to time, I do pop up on these. And if we do any custom builds or anything for the programs or schools that they want unique program structures or functionalities, that usually comes across my desk, okay? So I'm sure you will encounter me in one form or another throughout your use of Electude. All right, you guys, you're very welcome. I absolutely appreciate everybody taking the time out of their day to sit in on this session. I appreciate the back and forth. As you guys know, this COVID time has been pretty weird in the fact that we have to give the lectures, but we don't get to see our class. And much like y'all, I've been an educator for a long time. I need to see that reaction. So it's really great. I appreciate you guys getting engaged. Judging by the feedback, it looks like everybody got what they needed. So I didn't put anybody to sleep. That's a great thing. But guys, thank you again for showing up. Any questions that you guys have for further development within Electude? We actually have, if you go to electude.com and click the support tab, there are a lot of these webinars that run every week. Each of those webinars cover a different area. You can come to as many of the sessions as you feel would be beneficial, and there really is no limit. So it's electude.com and click the support tab. So guys, I don't see any more questions coming through. So not to beat a dead horse, I'll go ahead and turn you guys loose. Thank you again for your time. All right, hope it's been at least somewhat informational for you. Like I said, this video has been recorded, the session has been recorded, so it will be sent out to the attendees, and I expect that here within the next day or two. Takes a little bit for for GoToMeeting to process this, but once we get it done, we'll ship that out. You guys have an awesome day. Thank you again, and hope to be in touch soon.